Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 2028, and we're here with Meredith.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, you're the guest for today, in the sense of like we're talking all about you today. So you're
Awesome.
the star. You're the star of today's episode. Yes, which in my mind is like every single time you're on here.
Thank you.
Yes, because I'm excited. Okay, so let's tell the topic and the title and all that stuff. So we're going to talk about 2024 contest prep.
Yep.
And the fact that you are actually 24 weeks out from a competition.
I know. It's pretty wild.
Yes. So my first note that I have in the outline is why.
Which this is all a surprise to me, by the way.
Yes, she does not know the outline. So yes.
I don't know what I'm going to be asked.
No. So the first question is why?
I ask myself that a lot, Rob.
Yeah. But yeah, so why did you decide to do a show this year?
Because it's been a while since I've done one.
Yeah, how many years? For those who are unfortunate
2018?
enough not to know you that well.
2018?
2018, so that's mathing, I think, 6 years?
Mathing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there were plans, but then COVID happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go ahead and say that threw a wrench into some things.
It changed a few things.
Though I do have a friend that competed in 2020.
That's
She
awesome.
did the whole prep at home.
Good for her.
She looked awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been a while. I succumbed to a desk job.
Yes.
Yeah. Desk job and prepping for school, studying to take exams, to get into school, started school. Just a lot of hectic.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I just, I don't feel like me.
Yeah. I
Right,
think that's
like,
a big component of
Don't
it.
feel like me.
You kind of lost yourself chasing after everything that seemed like an emergency, and it has actually kind of been an emergency.
I was going to say, there were some legitimate emergencies. And then, so just realizing, and like we said, when I first started, I said, do you think maybe I should do a show? Let's take a look at shows. Let's see what's going on.
Meanwhile, I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, and then you said, normally if someone's thinking about doing one, they're ready to do one.
Yeah.
Right, so.
Yeah, because you know full well the
I know
fun,
what it takes.
the capital F-U-N that's
The capital
involved.
F-U and the lower N.
Yeah, that's
I
involved.
like it.
So if you're asking it and you know that
what it
it
takes.
does have like a degree of self-challenge, then you clearly must want to do it, because otherwise
I do,
you
I
would
wanna do
never ask if you knew
I
what
want
was
to do
involved in
it.
the show.
Plus, it would be awesome to be able to do one before 40.
Yes, so you are turning 40
Turning
this
40
year.
in December.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so that'll be awesome. You'll be fit at 40.
Yep.
Yeah, you'll be kicking butt.
Hopefully the best shape I've ever been in going into my
Yes.
40th. I'm technically in my 40th year. We're going into my 41st year.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
So, so I just, everything else came first. Number one. Number two, I don't feel like me. I don't feel like I look like me. Like, I miss my shoulder caps. Now, any, Tom, Dick, or Harry on the street would probably be like, yeah, she's in shape. She probably works out. But to me, when I'm hard on myself, I don't feel like me. I don't look like me.
Yeah. And that can be, that can be tough, and you dealt with it long enough. Now it's time to kind of do something about it.
Yeah.
What do you foresee to be some challenges and obstacles along the way?
These are good questions.
Thank you.
Challenges and obstacles. Life.
Okay. So, yes. The uncertainty of life, is that what
Uncertainty of life.
you mean?
Yeah. So, just you take it one day at a time and you see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
School, right? So,
Yes. So for those who don't know, you want to kind of fill them in a little bit on what school means?
Yes. So speaking of the pandemic, I was in grad school, and then I stopped. I withdrew during COVID when my mom had a stroke.
Yeah.
So I went back to school last June-ish, last August, and I'll graduate next June with my executive MBA.
Yeah, from Kellogg, which is
from Kellogg.
Pretty badass.
Yeah, yes. That was a reach, and it happened. So
yeah.
We're like, well,
gotta go.
If that happened, we have to go.
Absolutely, yes.
But that's traveling once a month to campus. So that's a challenge. But I mean, my diet's really good while we're there.
Yes, but that's still a challenge.
But it's still a challenge.
Like some of the ways in which people will find that a challenge is you have access to food when you travel. So that's like access isn't the problem. Right. But that's also the problem. Because it's not just the food that you would actually want to eat on prep. There's also foods that would be considered non-prep foods because they're very easy to overconsume in calories and you're not going to get enough protein at all. Yeah. So there are foods that are easily accessed that aren't optimal, but then there are foods that are optimal. So the challenge you're facing isn't that no food is available, it's that almost too many varieties and too much of food is available.
Right.
So you have to challenge in maybe a little bit of a different way. Like I train clients, like we work with people who travel, and sometimes their biggest challenge is can't get enough access to protein items.
Right.
And it's like take a protein powder with you, or take some stuff with you, or stop at a grocery store when you get in town. Yeah. Before you go to the hotel, stop at a grocery store or something like that. So access is definitely a challenge when you travel. What are some other challenges you might face?
What's another one? I mean, I think about it's gonna probably sound funny, but the comments from other people.
Oh, that's a great thing to talk about. Great thing to talk about.
Yeah. So, and I used to joke where I'm like, I don't come at you for the shit you eat. So why are you gonna make fun of my chicken breast? Yeah. Like, why are you getting on my case because I'm eating meat and veggies, but I'm not boo-hooing you for your shit food or whatever you decide to eat. So it's just, the extra scrutiny from people that don't get it.
It is interesting, sometimes people treat you like the food police, and they'll apologize to you for what they're eating, and it's like,
I hate that.
I don't mind what you eat.
I don't care what you're eating. You do you.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm not judging you.
But it does turn into a topic that people will mention or be focused around when they know you're doing a show, or when they know you're like a fit person or you work with people, and so that's something okay, that's going to be heightened, so I have to deal with that a little bit.
Yeah. So it's like it'll be the people that are, how come you're not eating, or you brought your own food when we have food, or but also my first show with you, so
this will be the first time you don't have to eat boiled chicken.
I don't have to eat boiled chicken out of a Ziploc bag.
Yeah.
So that'll be a new experience. Yeah, so just like the extra scrutiny. I remember when I was getting really, really thin and people were like, are you healthy? Are you okay? Yes, I'm monitored with blood work. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So that gets a little awkward.
Yeah. And I know we've known clients who've lost friendships a little bit during preps because the person will it's almost like they perceive that you're judging them because they're not fit.
Yeah.
So therefore they block you out, and you're like, well, I wouldn't.
Just let me be me. Yeah, I miss my friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see. What's another challenge? Being hungry.
Yes. Now that'll be interesting. You and I. This is the first time you and I've worked together, and we're I'll be doing your nutrition prep, and the number one complaint I get from my clients is they don't want to eat all the food. Because it's a different way of weird. You're basically trying to feed to make it simple. You're stoking a fire.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we want to put a lot of wood on the fire, make a big fire so it's burning body fat all day. Yeah. And it's odd for people to think that you have to actually sometimes eat an uncomfortable amount of food in order to promote more fat loss. And that is an odd thing.
Well, I learned that from you, I wasn't getting ready for a show at the time. So there were times I'm like, I don't want to eat all of this food.
Yeah, well, when we did the wedding prep.
Getting ready for the wedding.
Yeah, we went from a size 10 down to a 4, and
they took it in.
They still had to take it in, and that was through the pandemic and all that crazy.
For any new listeners, when I picked out my wedding dress, they made me sign a waiver because I ordered a smaller size than I was.
Yes.
So, again, makes you feel really good.
Yeah, if anybody wants to check that one out, it's podcast 836, that was with Meredith, and it was called Wedding Prep Story. You can find the older podcast by going to our website. On the homepage, if you scroll down, there's a podcast player that plays the 300 latest episodes. But underneath that are instructions on how to find older podcasts. And that would be podcast 836. And the keywords you look for are Wedding Prep Story. Yeah, and you can learn a little bit more about that. How about long work hours?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Yeah, so that's something like we know that that's going to be an obstacle. But a lot of people face that is whenever work seems to never end. I was actually just did a Zoom meeting with an entrepreneur today, and they work for an organization, but they get paid per time they do stuff. And it's a fitness-based organization. I'll skip the name of it. But they were saying the struggle with that is if they say no, they're turning down money. What if I need money later? So I have to say yes all the time. But the more I say yes, the less time I have to prep my food, to train myself, to do my better sleep quality because I have to travel in planes and all this stuff. So when you have a job that never ends, how do you carve out time for yourself?
Yeah. What I found works is if I wake up really early and do whatever I need to do at the beginning of the day before everything else, because as soon as I start doing something, it's really hard to stop.
Yeah.
And then to draw the line to switch gears between work and school or work and relax or whatever else it is, it's doing something and just building routines and habits.
Yeah.
So one thing that's going to be very important is getting up early and getting it done before the day starts.
Yes. Now, in order for you to get up early, what do you have to do?
Go to bed early.
How do you go to bed early? How do you manage your evening routine? I laugh because I'm spend every night with you, but it's helpful.
But I'm also laughing because of the face a classmate made when the answer is I set alarms for everything.
Yes.
That's the answer. I set an alarm to take melatonin, and then I set an alarm to go to bed. I set an alarm to stop working.
Yeah. Because it's hard to say. What I love about it is you're working with yourself.
Right.
So rather than working against your nature, saying I should just stop at 6. I should, then you never do. But if you set an alarm at 6, now you're like, okay, I'm reminded that I should be stopping now. So you know that that's something that you struggle with. So why would you just not set an action in place that helps? So a lot of times people just think they believe they should be better, so then they never help themselves be better.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, so setting an alarm is something where you're like, okay, that builds the habit, I can see the positive benefit of it, and now before the alarm barely makes a peep, I press the button and I'm moving on because I'm excited to do it.
Right.
But it's nice to have that reminder.
Yeah. So I set those alerts. That's one thing. Take a melatonin to make sure I get sleepy.
Yeah, that helps a lot too.
So some what they would call sleep hygiene tactics that I was never very good at, but I'm trying to get better at.
Yeah, and that's definitely huge. Sleep, a healthier sleep routine is huge. Because everybody knows, okay, I got to get up early to get ahead of the day. Okay, well, how do you get up early? You got to go to bed early. Well, how do you go to bed early? See, I almost have to chase it down to the cause of, the root. So a good podcast for sleep is podcast 1149. It's titled Creating a Healthier Sleep Pattern. At that time, I think I'd read 6 sleep books, and I summarized them all in that podcast. So it's actually a really good podcast. But that would be a good one to check out if you want to learn. Okay, I also realize that I have to get up early to get what I need done. How can I get up early in a healthier way? That would be a good podcast for that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I'm trying to think what else. I don't know. I think just knowing that something is better than nothing, having seen a pattern of, okay, as long as I'm consistent, it'll work. Or as long as I'm consistent, it'll get me closer. So knowing I have to do a little bit every day helps.
Yeah, every day adds up, but I don't have to set a world record every day. I just got to do a little bit of something. Yeah. And if I do a little bit of something every single day, that's what I need. Not, I can't go to the gym for an hour and a half today, let me just not work out at all.
Yeah, a lot of folks do that.
Yeah, that all or nothing type mindset.
Yeah, I didn't eat well, so I'm going to overeat.
Yes.
For some reason, yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a really good podcast about self-punishment cycles that people get into. And what that means is, okay, if I miss a meal, now let me over-exercise. That causes huge cravings. I then binge eat.
Binge restrict.
Because I binge, I now skip a meal. And then, good God, you go right back to it.
Binge restrict, yeah. That
so
cycle's off.
That is something that is so popular. That was podcast 113. 113. So I talked about this back in 2018.
Oh my
So I got to revisit that one probably.
Yeah.
But podcast 113, Self-Punishment Cycles, is a good one. And there's a book, How to Be an Imperfectionist, by Stephen Guise.
Oh, yeah.
The last name is spelled Guise. That's a very good book on learning that some things add up and how do you accept some things. Mm-hmm. And then another book, Atomic Habits. Actually, there's Elastic Habits. That would be even better.
Yeah, that's
because Elastic Habits talks about tiers of efforts. Mm-hmm. Like you have the best day possible, an okay day, and then an everything shits the bed day.
Which happens.
Yes. And then how do you still do something on those days?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the book Elastic Habits would be a very good book.
That's a really good one.
Yeah. Okay. So now we've talked a little bit about the obstacles you might face. Mm-hmm. One of the questions I want to ask again before we get into kind of the nitty gritty of what we're going to do is, what are your whys? When you think about, like, what's the reason for doing, like, why would you accept more misery in your life? Why would you accept more challenges?
Because I'm me.
Yes. That's who you've learned to be. You've learned that is a beneficial thing to do.
I don't know if I learned it.
Ooh, this is fun.
Well, it feels like that's always been, I don't know. It could be a very long podcast if we debate that. But yeah. I think because I started out dancing at a very young age, so like 30 plus hours of dance a week, 30s on the low end.
That's insane. Yes. It's a full-time job.
So I was used to always doing something, and part of it being a type A personality, part of it really enjoying fitness, and then especially too, having danced from 3 to 26, 20
somethings, yeah.
Then and you stop and you graduate, you don't have anything to fill that void. So I was sure it was a choice, but it feels like I was born with it because that's all I ever knew.
Yeah.
So if I'm not chasing a goal, or if I'm not doing something that makes me feel more physically fit, or I don't know, I don't feel like myself. So it's back when I was dancing, and I'm trying to remember why at some point I stopped in college. It was summer school. I remember I was living at home in New Jersey, and then I drove to Pennsylvania for a morning class that was 3 hours, and then I drove to a different part of Jersey for a class that was also 3 hours, and then I drove home. And I was so depressed because I went to school every summer. I had 2 degrees. So I went to school every summer, and I just became miserable. I said, I don't like this. I'm not doing anything that's really enjoying. Now, granted, I liked the classes, but I was just either in class or in a car all day.
Yeah, that's just too much of...
So I said, screw this, and I found classes in New York City. So in the morning, I drove to the train station. I took the train to Manhattan. I took dance classes in the morning. Then I took the train home, went to class in PA, went to class in Jersey, and then came home, and I did it all again.
Yes.
So it's because I'm doing what I have to do, what I need to, or what I feel like I need to do for my future, and at the same time I have to do something that makes me happy.
Yeah.
So all of that to say, like, why take more on? I don't know, because nothing's ever going to be a perfect scenario to do it, so you just do it.
Yeah, I think that's a good lesson is, they say don't wait for the right time, because there never is.
Make the right time.
You make the right time. And I think one component could be is if somebody doesn't feel like they have that natural drive, when you talk to people who seemingly do have a natural drive, one common theme is from an early age, they did things, whether they kind of wanted to or not, and then they saw the value in doing them. So they got through the initial part of, I don't really want to do it. My mom or dad made me. I didn't really want to do it, but all my friends were doing it. There was usually something that just kind of forced them to do it. They did it enough that they saw the reward of that. And then they started to see, okay, a sacrifice equals a reward. And I experience the reward. I get the taste of the reward.
Yeah.
So now I'm more willing to put in future sacrifices because I know that there's the reward on the other side.
Right.
When somebody doesn't have a life history of that, it can be very challenging to take on something that's highly stressful because they don't have the familiarity with a reward being associated with that stress.
True. Or they don't have like a supportive support system.
Well, that's huge too.
Which
Very
is
huge.
huge. I've been in relationships where people try to sabotage what I do.
Oh, that's so sad. Yes.
So, and it took a while before I actually did my very first show. I always felt drawn to it, and I held myself back because I felt like people are going to think I'm conceited if I do it.
Aw, that's an interesting component to discuss.
Meanwhile, I was on stage performing my whole life, and so like you get in a glitzy suit and you get on stage, and it's as close to dance performing as you can get.
Yeah.
So, I said, you know what? It was in my heart for long enough. I just decided to do it. I didn't like the way I looked. I wanted to try something new. My muscle structure is kind of stupid, so
you have very good genetics for muscle.
So it felt like I was, I don't, like disservice isn't the right word, but like I wasn't using God's gift.
Ah, that's a great way to word it. Yeah.
So I felt like if I could serve as motivation to someone or something, prove it to myself. I did it at a time where it was the worst of the worst, I think, in my life. So that made me feel really good. So I feel like I'm losing myself a little bit in work.
Yes.
So, I've been called a workaholic before, but I try to take value, like see value in everything I do, or find meaning in everything I do, but it can consume me if I'm not careful.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're a little bit, to some degree, back to where you were when you were driving 3 hours for those classes? You're doing what you should do.
Yeah.
But there isn't enough, like, for you in it.
Yeah, I think I let myself come last for a very long time.
I think that's very true. Yes.
For a very long time.
Yeah. And I think this is part of you reclaiming that. How do I get back to valuing myself, giving myself more of myself? Like, how do I give the better version of myself for me? I give it to everybody else. Why don't I get a piece of that?
Right. Yeah, and it's, I said, okay, so, plus it'll give me something to look forward to. I actually enjoy it, and there's times I don't get up from the computer for 12, 13 hours.
Yeah, and then having the pressure of a show makes those moments where you're like, oh, I can't really get away from this, and then you're like, oh crap, I got to.
Yeah.
So it gives you that little push, like your alarms.
Yeah, or when we got back from our honeymoon, and I had a panic attack in the car going to our honeymoon, y'all.
Yeah,
because I couldn't stop working. Like I had a panic attack that I was going to have to stop work.
Yeah.
Warning sign, you need to take a vacation.
3 hours into the drive, and I'm like, we can turn around and go back and get your computer.
I'm not gonna miss my honeymoon.
Yeah. So, but
this is toxic. We have to go.
But I think it's good to touch on all this because, to me, it's one of those.
Because the mind is a tricky little bastard.
Yes, and then also, when you take on a personal challenge and you want to benefit yourself in some way, the people who do it aren't any special or different than the people who don't.
True.
They just made the choice. Now, they might have had certain life moments where, like we said earlier, is they've been forced to do something, they saw the reward, now they see the value in reward and sacrifice and challenge. So they might have had moments like where they learned a lesson, but it's not a lesson that anyone else can't learn also. So what it takes for a person to be successful in these things isn't something that's unique to only some individuals.
Right. Anyone can do it.
Anyone can. It doesn't mean it's as easy as it is for everyone.
Right.
Like there's going to be different depths of challenge and different types of challenges.
Yeah. And I said the same disclaimer when I did the show last time, or when we've done podcasts about the other shows before, that it's not, one shouldn't go into a show thinking it's going to fix their eating disorder or fix their body dysmorphia or fix their disordered eating. Like you can't, the show or preparing for a show is not going to fix anything.
If anything, it highlights it and it forces you to have to work through it.
Yeah. So it's one of those, okay, well, I guess I'm going to step on a scale and not freak it out over a number because it's now just a data point over the next 24 weeks.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to put on my posing suit and take a photo, and it is what it is, and we just got to see it improving. And one thing that helped last time was knowing, okay, this is the worst I'm ever going to look, because tomorrow my diet's going to be on point and I'm going to work out a little more. Yeah. And then that'll be the worst I ever look.
Yeah.
Very drastic. But you know what I mean.
Well, I use it conversely. Like, my thing is every day is the best I've ever looked. Because I eat well, I train. And
tell me you're glass half full and I'm glass half empty without saying it.
Yes.
Today's the worst I've ever looked. Today's the best I've ever looked.
This is the sexiest I've ever been.
This is the worst. Yeah.
No, you're amazing. But that is true. So I use it on more so the positive side, like Sesame Street.
We balance
each other
out.
How Sesame Street would teach it. Yeah. But yeah. So I think that's all good highlights. I think it was good to discuss all of it because what I want to get into next is the training and nutrition. But I love talking about the mindset of things first because you can have the perfect training plan, the perfect nutrition plan, but if you don't follow the damn things, they do nothing. So how do you get to following it? You know, and so I think it's good for people to hear some of the challenges, some of the motivators.
I mean, it'll be fun to do one. Plus, by the way, it's a totally different class, so that I'm excited about. So it's not the exact same.
You did previously women's physique.
I did women's physique,
and now we're going to switch to figure.
Figure.
Yes.
I'm so excited. Yeah,
so it'll be fun. It'll be like a newness to the sameness.
Wise words, everybody.
Oh, yes, thank you.
So that's cool. So turning 40, new class. I want to be that lean again. Like I want to feel that good again. It felt really good.
Yeah, you feel like a badass probably. You looked like one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You feel pretty good. What's the girl that won the Olympia? Julia. Help me.
Oh, I'm not helpful. What do you? Let's see. I'll have to Google because which division?
Blank. Physique.
Physique. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Because it was it was after the show, and I was flying home to see my mom because it was when she still lived up north and I was down here, and someone stopped me in the airport and asked if I was her.
Oh, that's neat.
And I'm pretty sure that was the best compliment ever.
Now, there's, is it Sarah? I can't pronounce her last
name.
No. Okay. So I'm going to talk while you look that up then. So, let's see. Natalia Abraham. Okay, so I'll chit-chat a little bit while she's looking
Stop, Rob.
But what I want to get into next is talking about the approach that we're going to use on her for her nutrition and training, and then just kind of having fun talking about how that feels as an experience. So with nutrition, the main thing we're going to look to do initially is to increase the consistency of our daily calories and protein. So it's very common when people aren't pursuing a goal, there's going to be more variance to how much food and calories. Do you have it?
Juliana Malacarne.
Ah, there you go. You want to spell out the last name for him?
Malacarne.
There you go.
Juliana Malacarne. And then when I posted my photo, she actually liked my posts, and I died.
Wow.
I died.
Yeah, that would have been like starstruck there.
But someone asked me if I was her, and I said, no, but thank you. Can I buy you a coffee? Like, that was amazing. The best compliment.
Yes.
Yeah. So, anywho.
That's awesome.
That felt great.
Yeah, we'll wait till she get asked if she's Meredith Whitman.
Yeah, okay. You're cute. Yeah, I just want to feel better.
Yeah, and I think that's a great goal. Like,
Yeah.
if it all boils down to I just want to be happier in life,
Yeah.
I mean, what more of a reason do you need for anything?
Right.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
So you were saying?
Yes. For nutrition, we're going to get more consistent with nutrition. So we are increasing consistency in the sense that Meredith underate.
Yeah.
So due to stress and craziness of life, we would sometimes miss meals. And now we need to get to the point where we don't do that.
Yeah.
So we're having a breakfast, lunch, dinner with known kind of small snacks in between, like cheese sticks and core power drinks and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But the idea that we're initially looking for, and this is what I'd recommend for anybody, is to try to get the variance of their calories and protein to a smaller level each day. Mm. That's going to make the best impact, because why we store body fat is for our body to have fuel in moments where we're underfed. So if we get rid of the moments of being underfed, the body really has no need to keep the body fat. And then you eventually will get rid of the body fat if you're in a small caloric deficit. We'll save all that for another podcast. But what our initial goal is just to have, okay, if I'm supposed to have a breakfast, lunch, and a dinner, and maybe 2 known snacks somewhere in the middle of the day when I feel like there's time for them. Mm-hmm. I just want to have that every day, all the time. Mm-hmm. We're trying to get the body to trust us in that we are going to give it what it needs. It doesn't need to save it on its own. Mm-hmm. And the more trust we develop over time, that helps the process of fat loss happen easier, because then the body isn't trying to fight the fat being lost, which can be a pain in the butt.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yes. So what's your breakfast that you're having now?
This morning I had a gluten-free bagel.
Yes.
With butter, whipped butter on it.
Yes.
Sugar-free jelly.
Yes. And
an egg that I make in the microwave. And it's on a sandwich.
Yeah.
And it's delicious.
It actually is pretty nice. It's a nice warm meal, and you can make it in like 2 minutes.
And formerly I was eating a hard-boiled egg, 2 pieces of turkey bacon, and a scoop of almond butter.
Yeah.
Like during my last show.
Yeah, which isn't, like, that's an okay meal.
It was actually delicious, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's fine. You're just trading basically some fats for carbs and stuff like that.
Yeah. So that was breakfast, and then I had tuna on bread for lunch.
There you go. And then what's our normal lunch when we have during the week?
Protein pasta.
Yeah, so banza pasta made from chickpeas. Mm-hmm. So that's very high in protein, and it's a good gluten-free pasta for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then what do we normally have for dinner?
Chicken and rice.
Chicken and rice. Good old chicken and rice.
Chicken and rice.
Yeah, so I cut up some chicken with scissors into bite-sized pieces, put it in a pan. What kind of, we've Gordon Ramsay pans? What are those fancy pans?
Hexclad.
Hexclad pans.
They're awesome.
Yes, they're amazing. Mm-hmm. So I just cook up some chicken in that, and then we do microwavable rice because I'm lazy.
You're not lazy. It saves
it saves time.
Shit ton of time.
Yes. So those are our 3 main meals.
Yeah.
And then for small, we have bobos.
Mm-hmm.
What are bobos? I forget.
They're like the little oat bars.
It's like an oat, right?
Yeah, with some kind of something in the middle.
Like a little bit of a filling in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Yes. And then we have the core power drinks.
Yep.
And then
it's a good mix.
Cheese
sometimes
sticks.
Cheese sticks. Yeah.
You have an apple sometimes.
Yeah. If I'm in the mood.
Yeah. But that's the idea right now, is we're trying to create some consistency. And once we have that in place, which really is just a week or 2, I then do the fun job of figuring out, okay, how many calories a day is that, and how many grams of protein a day is that?
Yeah.
We're eventually going to push your protein to 1 gram per pound of body weight. And as you would lose body weight, I would typically adjust the protein as somebody loses body weight if they're losing like 20, 30, 40 pounds. Mm-hmm. If somebody's losing 10, 15, 20 pounds, I don't typically change it because it's so close, who cares?
Yeah.
But if they're going to lose 20 plus pounds, we will modify the protein as we go. But the caloric average, what we're looking for is we want to burn as many calories as we can through training.
Right.
And not only the workouts themselves, but the caloric burn that you get from the recovery from the workouts, which I'll talk about more in a second.
Yeah, always staying pained.
Yes, always keeping the muscles damaged.
Yeah.
So essentially what we're going to look to do is keep protein consistent, burn as many calories as we can in workouts and recovery between workouts, and then slowly reduce the carbs and fats over time as needed to push our body fat down.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Now, if we look back into training, so we are going to be doing upper body, lower body, kind of alternating back and forth. Yes. And then for upper body, for you, we're focusing on shoulders and mid-back.
Yes.
Yeah. We don't need bigger biceps and triceps. And if we wanted them, could we? Sure. But they're not really needed, and you don't really want them a little bigger as like an aesthetic for yourself.
So for the listeners, how did you, because you brought my lats in way in.
Yes.
For the wedding. Thank God.
Yeah.
But what did you do to help me transition from a physique to a figure?
Great question. Thank you.
Yes.
So the basics are don't train the muscles you don't want. So if you don't want the lats to grow, don't train them. So you want to isolate out as much as you can away from the lats. An example would be is people would say, okay, don't do pull-ups and pull-downs, sure, but you have to be careful about row selection. Like dumbbell, bent over, one-arm rows, very high degree of lat involvement. So you have to avoid those. So we didn't do those. We did a lot of cable-seated row, and we did more so mid-back squeeze and contractions.
We did a lot of those.
Yes. So we did a lot of mid-back work, and that kept the middle and lower traps growing and keeping them defined. And it kept the nice muscly bumps across the shoulder blades, the rear delts, but it tapered away the lats.
Right.
So that's one component is don't train the muscles you don't want. The other component is, and this is, you have to do this carefully and intelligently, but don't feed protein after those workouts. So I've actually taken muscle off of collegiate athletes, female collegiate athletes, because they needed muscle for a certain sport, but then their sport didn't turn into a professional career, and they're like, hey, my legs are too big. What do we do? So a shortened version of what we did would be is you'd send them to the gym, do a lot of body weight training, do some things that cause muscle tissue damage to the legs, but they go home, they don't eat. If they don't eat any protein, there's no new muscle formed, and the muscle that was broken down is catabolized, processed, and then discarded. And you don't get any new muscle back.
Over time. Wild.
Yes. So we would eat post upper body workouts. And we would eat during the day to have good energy, but you would taper off protein following those workouts, and then the muscle actually goes away. Cool. So yes. So it's using the science of how you build muscle in reverse.
In reverse.
Yeah.
And it's how you ate away my calves.
Yes, your beautiful calves.
They're not gone.
I know.
They're definitely not gone.
She has beautiful legs.
But they are less.
Yes, we did get rid of we reduced your calves, we reduced your lats, we reduced your biceps and triceps. We're going to keep the shoulder cap and actually build on the shoulder cap. We're going to add more muscle detail to the mid-back, the lower traps specifically.
Then the glutes changed.
Yeah, and then the lower body, you're looking at increasing quad sweep, but not the teardrop or the adductor. And we're building lower glutes, not upper glutes.
Right.
And there's a summary of it.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Yes, which will be very fun. So a lot of that is exercise selection. So we did today, what were the 3 movements we did in our workout today?
Hamstring curls, glute drive, and what was the third?
Hack squat.
Hack squat.
Yeah, the wonderful, wonderful hack squat. Yes, so we did lying hamstring curls because that helps to develop there's just the muscle belly, like a nice good muscle belly of the hamstrings. So when you turn to the side, you have a nice like roundness to the hamstrings, which you will need in posing.
It looks so good.
And when you turn to the back, you'll have some hamstring definitions, which you can definitely still have hamstring definition. You want some hamstring definition in figure. So that will be good. And then glute drive was to build the lower portion of the glutes, and we even did a hold at the isometric.
So painful.
Which is very very good way to annoy the crap out of the glutes. So we were doing that, and the glute drive in that specific position builds the lower portion, not the upper portion.
Which is what I want.
Yes, absolutely. And most females, 99% of females will want that. You want to grow the bottom up when it comes to glutes.
But a lot of folks don't.
They don't know that.
They don't know that there's different movements.
They'll hammer really hard, like short range RDLs, conventional deadlifts, and things that are just going to jack up their upper glute, but not build the lower.
Yep.
Yes. And then we did hack squat. We did it reverse banded.
Which was really nice for the knees.
Yeah, it takes some pressure off the knees at the bottom, but what also it does for shaping is it reduces some of the tensional load felt by the teardrop muscle, which is the inside of the quad muscle down by the kneecap, which you wouldn't want overdeveloped for figure.
Right.
So we're actually deloading when that muscle is most activated. But we're not deloading the rest of the range of motion, which is when the quad sweep is most activated. So in a full range of motion, we're actually changing the load tension depending on which part of the muscle belly we want to grow. So that's the stuff that I find super fun. Getting to do exercise selection and do all that.
And that's also, to jump back to the beginning of the podcast, of part of the why now, we're very lucky that we don't have to drive to a gym.
Yeah, we have a home gym right now. So if you haven't checked out YouTube or Instagram, please do. But on there, you would see some videos of like the home gym, which is pretty cool. We have a leg press, like Rogue bilateral leg press. We have the hack squat, which is an old Magnum style, which is badass.
The best.
We have Rogers Squat Pro. We have the Nautilus glute drive, an old Magnum lying leg curl. I think it's Cybex.
I think it's Cybex.
I was going to say, I think it's Cybex. Yeah, Cybex. And then we got the Sornex Apex rack, which has cable columns on each side, so I can do cable flies. Good set of dumbbells, got some good kettlebells, got a whole bunch of fun stuff.
Yeah, we can do a whole prep in the basement.
Yeah, and then we got our garage gym with all the CrossFit stuff.
Yeah, we're good. If I can't get in shape, shame on me.
Shame on both of us. Yes. But yeah, so the main thing when we look at training, and you mentioned it, was we always want to be recovering. So when people are aiming for muscle growth and shape, it's very different than performance.
Absolutely.
Yes. When you train to perform, you want to be fresh enough to perform optimally with reduced injury risk. However, when you're doing muscle growth, we could care less how you perform, in the sense of, is it heavy enough to cause tissue damage? Yes. Done. So if you're totally fresh, what's the heaviest squat you can do is maybe 275, 300, somewhere in there. If we're looking for growth, 225 is enough to grow. So we just train frequent enough that the muscles are wavering between, let's say when you work out, you beat the muscles up to 50% of their capacity. The mistake people make is they wait for it to return to 100. We don't do that. We're not doing it.
It's very humbling.
Yes.
To be weak every single day.
So essentially we're training to beat them up to 50. We let them recover to like an 80 or 90, to where we can use the weight loads that are heavy enough to cause tissue damage, but without connective tissue damage concern.
Yeah.
But we're always wavering between 50 to 90, 50 to 90, 50 to 90. So you said that it makes you feel weak.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a challenge.
Facts.
Because you're coming from CrossFit background where everything is RX, everything is a standard, everything has to be, if you don't die doing it, you did it wrong. That's a summary of CrossFit.
Yeah.
All the CrossFit coaches I've worked with are probably laughing now.
Oh yeah.
But
that, and if I don't feel strong, I'm doing it wrong.
That's a good point.
If I'm not doing things I'm good at, which you're never doing anything you're good at when you're getting ready for a show. Yeah,
when you're shaping muscles, typically the ones that are underdeveloped aren't stimulated well, and we don't typically stimulate them because we stink at the movements that they're involved with.
Yeah.
So
it's a fun little mind game.
So we have a check-in with us. Like, I'll tell her, I'm like, hey, do you want to do like a shaping day, or do you just want to kind of go nuts today? Like, do you just want to have a day where you just go in and have fun? And sometimes that's the answer, and if so, awesome. You go in and kill things.
Rarely. Handful of times in a year.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I just, trust the process, whatever I need to do, until it gets to be, I need to go crazy today. I need to feel strong. I need to.
Or I have some emotions I have to work out. Yes.
Yeah.
I need to kill these weights before I kill someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's going to be our training, is training the muscles always sore.
Yeah.
Because we're looking to produce muscle damage, not for performance.
Correct.
Yes. Then nutrition, you want to have consistency, 1 gram per pound of body weight in protein. Eventually you bring the carbs and fats down in order to lose body fat at the rate you need to peak out at the show. So we're 24 weeks out, so that gives us a range that we're going to go for.
Decent time. Now, am I going to be stepping on a scale?
That's your choice. So I've done enough preps where I know what somebody should look like at each stage. So I don't need it. But if we want to add that to be able to tell the listeners, what was the weight change, then we can add a scale.
Let us know.
That would be fun.
Let us know how you want.
Yeah, if you want to know kind of like what the weight change was from start to finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can always message us on our website, www.brutalirongym.com. On the bottom of the homepage is a contact form. You can always send in, podcast requests. You can send in comments, anything like that.
Or email us at brutalirongym@gmail.
Yeah, that works too.
So let us know.
Yep.
Pick your own ending. Do you want me to weigh myself or not?
Yes. What do you think? Yeah.
I don't know. Similar. It's just that I had to do it last time, and I did see the weight go down every week. But at the same time, it's like I don't need to because I could obviously see there's differences.
Okay.
So either way.
Yeah, maybe we'll weigh ourselves just because more information for the listeners wouldn't be a bad thing.
Sure.
Yeah. But can you do prep without weighing yourself?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've done it several times. So you don't need to. Like, you do have to be familiar enough to know what should be happening in the process. So the first time I ever prepped anyone, would I have weighed them? Hell yeah, because I would have needed that data point to learn. Now at this point, no, I don't really need it. But
now
it's
you're like,
helpful.
I'm awesome. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, no. But it's always fun to figure out new things and go through the process again.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's exciting. It's weird to think about.
I'm happy for you because it's a fun process, and like you said, it's going to help you reclaim yourself and
Yes.
reclaim some sense of self in life, some happiness, and I want that for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited for you.
Yeah. Not to say I'm not happy. That makes it sound like
Oh, yeah,
not a
true.
happy person.
Yeah. I want more happiness.
Yeah.
Maximum capacity
Yeah.
happiness.
I just want to feel good. I want to be able to say, okay, yeah, I can wear a bathing suit today and feel fine.
Absolutely.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was like we always say, Rob heard me talk a lot about just like, man, I really don't feel good. I feel like, I'm not working out as hard, or I'm not. It wasn't me. And he says that was, you have a lot of balls in the air, and you can't drop the glass ones. You can drop the rubber ones. And sometimes the workout was a rubber one.
Yeah. I think what's interesting too, I'm just thinking of it right now, is you and I met in 2019.
We did.
Yeah, and at that time you were going through grad school and you had a lot of craziness going on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know to what level you would have considered your fitness at 2019 compared to what your probably peak ideal would be.
Crap.
What's interesting is I believe that you were absolutely gorgeous. I fell in love with you and asked you to marry me
Yes.
with what you look like in 2018.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. So I think you're absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All the viewers are like, "Ugh."
Yeah. But I think it's important to remember that. Like,
It is.
because you can.
Because I'm doing it for me.
Yes, that's what I like.
That's the big thing. I'm doing it for me. It's like, that's great. You think I look good? No.
Yeah. You're like, thank you,
I don't.
and I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
But I want to look better for me.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that you're doing something that makes you happy for you. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like, I'm sure a lot of people maybe are feeling that way now. They look in the mirror and they're like, this isn't me.
Yeah.
I don't see me anymore. Now I'm not like this, maybe a little body dysmorphic, but I'm not like looking in the mirror thinking, wow, I'm a trash.
I bet every listener has some degree of body dysmorphia.
But everybody,
everyone in this culture.
every single person, especially if you're listening to the podcast, you're already in the echelon of
Yes. If you have ears and you sought out this specific podcast topic, then yes.
welcome to the club. You hate yourself.
That's fantastic. Yes. We have dark humor. And this is actually us being edited.
Yeah, I've rubbed off on you a lot.
Which is fun. Yeah. It's a neat perspective.
Wow, it's dark down here. Someone get me out. Yeah, but it's exciting because I want to see what I'm going to look like in a different class.
I'm excited for you because I think it'll be... You were previously told you couldn't do that class.
Correct.
And I love whenever there's an opportunity to kind of... When somebody believed something wasn't possible...
To do it?
To do it.
Me too.
Because, like, whether... And mostly it's because the person tells me... Like, for example, they've been overweight their whole life.
Yeah.
They're like, it's just not possible for me to be fit. And I'm like, oh. Absolutely it is. Now I'm
Yeah.
like dead set on making that happen.
I've had clients
Yeah.
that are like, my doctor told me I'd never XYZ. It's okay.
Yeah.
And then they do it.
Yeah, it's like, no.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it'll be fun. I'd like to commemorate it. Maybe do another shoot.
Yeah, we'll do a shoot maybe the other year.
Do some milestone life moments, right? Like
Yeah.
short.
And I wanted to tell the listeners is to check in YouTube because we're going to plan to film a couple workouts
Yes.
along the way, do some
Yeah.
check-ins on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It's just under the name Brutal Iron Gym. If you don't follow us, please do. And please subscribe. That way it helps just kind of grow the channel algorithm so more people can see the content.
Yeah.
And then also we're going to keep going with podcasts. Check in every once in a while. Kind of tell everybody what's new in the process, what your thoughts are along the way. And I think that would be fun for everyone to hear.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I already feel like I'm significantly out of shape in the last 2 days. Yeah.
I think it'll be a fun process for you. And then if anybody follows along, I think they're going to be interested.
Yeah,
see
it reminds
kinda how it
me the same feeling of the very first time I prepped for a show. I lost my job, and the show is 4 months away.
Yeah.
And so I was looking down the barrel of like 4 months until I can get on stage, and I said, I can't do that. That feels very irresponsible. So I just stopped, and it was look for a job 24/7 until I found one, and then I worked double time, overtime to make up for the month, and then April went by and I watched all my friends get on stage and I was sad panda.
Yeah.
And I just, okay, get over it. And then with the amount, the cortisol stress, I still have the photo. I remember feeling like, I can't believe it felt like I undid everything I had just done over a year. And I said, I can't believe that just happened. And I'm like, I'm not going out like that. And so went back in the gym and tried to not hang my head to be like, wow, she blew up again, in my mind.
Yeah.
And started all over again. And then I went from that, April or May until the fall. But it feels like working out the way we did in the last 2 days, it was like that day.
Feels like you're starting over again kind of thing? Yeah.
Of you feel a little uncomfortable, you beat yourself up, and then you said, you're like, but look at all of the things that you've accomplished. I'm like, it doesn't matter if I feel like a fat ass,
Yeah.
But okay, it does matter,
I'm like, here's happiness, and then she throws it away.
No, I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah. But I think it's awesome that you accept that that's the feeling you have currently. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't have to be the feeling that you live with.
No. And I can recognize it and say, okay, I felt this way before, but I sure as hell came out of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I can recognize it, but it's also in my mind, I can recognize it as being a good thing. It's like, okay, this is why I want to do it, because I don't like feeling like this.
Yeah. And the best way to create change is to actually act and do things and make change. Don't wait for it to change, make it change.
Right. And at the same time, to be able to recognize, as important as that is to me, I did enough to stay fit enough or lean enough with the other things that had to be a priority or were a priority.
Yeah.
I was able to recognize and not be warped to say, I have to do this, and then everything else fell by the wayside.
Oh, very true.
So it was a balance, because sometimes you can't do everything.
No.
You can't.
But you can at least do a maintenance degree of a lot of things.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes you're going to drop something completely, but sometimes just good enough is actually good enough for now.
Yeah. Us doing air squats to flower in our hotel room.
My gosh, that song is a lot longer.
It freaking hurt.
Yeah. We went one time
back
through,
to back.
and then you looked at me and I'm like, oh, yep, that's that look. We're doing it again.
More time.
Yeah.
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 And then we couldn't walk.
Yeah. I remember we had a lot of nights up in New Jersey, and I just did like 10 push-ups, then just passed out because that was all I had that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was something.
Yeah, that was my mom's stroke.
I've
Still
done
can't look at those
squats while
microwavable sausages.
Oh yeah, those sausages.
Can't look at them.
Yeah, but I remember like doing squats while they were microwaving, like in the kitchen, just doing bodyweight squats.
We were hanging by a thread.
Yeah. Yep.
But in love.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Always.
It was a good time being together. But holy crap.
That was a fun first couple of years. Yes. So, okay, for the listeners, check in on YouTube. We're going to make some videos and stuff. Check in on the podcast. We'll make some more. Send in any thoughts. Like if there's anything you want to learn along this prep,
let us know. Maybe I'll document more on my Instagram. Merrimer Whitfit.
Yeah, so MERMERWITFIT.
It's also linked under your bio.
That's true. Yeah, just go to Brutal Iron Gym on Instagram, and your and Petunia Rose is on there too.
Yeah, but I don't post
fitness stuff there. Yeah, no.
Merrimer Whitfit.
Yeah, Merrimer Whitfit. Okay. Oof. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll be checking back in and sharing the progress.
All right.
Okay, awesome. Well, if you want to learn more about the services that we offer and what we do with people, you can check out the website. That's www.brutalirongym.com. And then you can also let us know if you have any questions. You can message us there as well. If you like the podcast, please share the podcast. The more people we share it with, the more people we can help. If you like the podcast, you can also consider donating to support the podcast, which you can do on the website. And if you like the information we share in the podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. You can find us and follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. Thank you, Meredith, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and then as always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.